The Department of Social Development has 257 billion rand to fulfill its mandate to South Africans. Of this, 248 is allocated to more than 18 million social grant beneficiaries. Social Development Minister Lindiwe Zulu, while presenting the breakdown of the department's 2022-2023 budget, told MPs the social development allocation is the government's third largest budget for this financial year. Opposition party MPs reminded Zulu about the dire state of millions of South Africans as the situation they find themselves in, and difficulty in accessing available grants because of inefficient services provided by the department were a factor. The possible implementation of a basic income grant, corruption among departmental officials and looting of government coffers, rising poverty, the decrease in the department's budget versus the rising of the inflation rate were common threads in opposition party speeches. Responding to criticism from opposition parties, Zulu said there is a need for consequence management, especially where fraud is concerned. All South Africans who applied for and have qualified for the 350 Rand social relief grant can expect payment by June. That's the undertaking made by the Minister of Social Development, Lindiwe Zulu, as that budget was tabled in Parliament this morning. 44 million Rand has been set aside for the grant, which is intended to benefit more than 10 million people. And this is in addition to the 18 million people that are already on other types of grants, including old age and child support. Minister Lindiwe Zulu joins Full View now. Good evening, Minister, and thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it. It's quite a feat being able to get people vetted and approved. How do you verify genuine cases to ensure that money goes to bona fide people in need?
Firstly, let me start with the normal and ordinary grants that we have been paying since 1994, since this government came into power. The systems for those applications of those ones, like the child support grant, the old age grant, that one we are not having a problem at all in terms of ensuring that when people have applied, the process does not take too long, and we make sure that those ones are paid. And historically, and also as a fact, most of those grant recipients who are old grant recipients in the system, we do not have that much of a problem in the payment of those, because working the system out of paying them has been really a long, painstaking process, which has taken us quite a number of years to do, but I think we are fine with that. The challenge is with the current social relief of distress, which is the 350, which was announced because of COVID-19 and the system thereof. We never had a chance to look out for systems and develop systems. We had to run with it and find the best solutions. That is where our problem is. The rest of the grant beneficiaries, we are not having a problem with that.
Well, let's talk then about this assistance that you mentioned now. SASSA is going to continue to provide assistance to families affected by the recent KZN and Eastern Cape floods. Just share an update in that regard, please, especially in a context where, people might not have access to their documents, and that could impede the verification and vetting process in a way.
Firstly, may I say right now we are in Gwandengezi, one of the places that was affected. We have come to see people who've been staying in a community hall, and we've got some support of some other support systems that have been put here in terms of houses, because all these people have been staying in one hall, males, females, children. We've come here to see that we have to make sure that working together with the Department of Home Affairs, the process of getting them to get their IDs is fast-tracked, because there's nothing else they can do. They need these IDs. But the good thing about our system is the fact that when it comes to registration, the normal SRD I'm talking about, not the SRD, the normal grants that I'm talking about, those ones, even when they have lost their IDs and all, we are able to process them because they are already in our system. And that's one of the reasons why we try by all means to make sure that our services are brought closer to the people who are actually suffering most right now from a point of view of their properties, their houses and all being destroyed. Those are the ones we are here, not only here, but we've been here since the beginning. And the Deputy Minister, by the way, Bokopane Zulu, has been in KZN since the flood started. And we can see that a coordinated approach, working together with COGDA, a coordinated approach of supporting people is what we need. I can tell you what people need here, more than anything, is places where they can go back to their homes, to their own community, to their communities where they lived.
Yeah.
But because of the infrastructure and the destruction, they are not able to do that. As a Department of Social Development, working together with others, we've supplied the blankets, supplied the food. We bring the food here every day to make sure that the people eat. We bring all the necessary things that are in our purview as a Department of Social Development. Right. But the other departments are also important to come through.
Well, let's talk about the other departments now, and when it comes particularly to this issue of being able to transition people out of grants for those who are able-bodied, of course, and able to do so. How are you building on your once portfolio of small business development on this issue of transitioning able people out of grants and into livelihoods? What are those opportunities available right now?
Yes. One of the reasons why we've also not been able to pay people as fast as we normally do was because we needed people to go back and apply. And I know that many were upset about the fact that they have to reapply. Our challenge is that if we don't make people to reapply, our system is not able to catch whether people have gone back to work or not. But if they do reapply, we are able to go back again to Home Affairs, go to all the necessary departments. We go to SARS even to go and check whether people are now paying taxes or not. Our system for checking whether people do deserve this money or not is in place. Hence, we ask them to reapply. But secondly, we are also working with the Department of Economic Development as well as small and medium enterprises, because we believe that the next big thing that we must focus on is to empower informal businesses, small and medium enterprises. Quickly, I can even tell you that we got money, for instance, from the Chinese embassy, which was meant to be money that has to go to buy food parcels. We then decided, we know that people need the food, but we know that there are lots of people who are giving the food, and the government itself is doing that.
Right.
So we are diverting some of that money into your small and medium and informal businesses who lost their lives, their livelihoods. And we are saying to them, here are vouchers, go get your business back. And we are doing this together with the Department of Small and Medium Enterprises.
Yeah, it was also more of a need to understand also on the legacy issues, just in long term, and not only in the situation of crisis and events such as we've seen in KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Cape, but more on the long term. Unfortunately, we don't have the time for that, but I do want to deal with this issue that you mentioned actually in one of your answers earlier on. This rooting out of unscrupulous government employees who have taken grant money is like a game of whack-a-mole. The more you root out, the more it seems that they pop up. Thousands of public servants were found to be receiving, I think it was the SRD grants that you mentioned now. What's been done about them? I know that SASSA is trying to recover the money from them through the acknowledgement of debt agreements, but is this not theft, and should there not be a harsher censure for this?
I think we need to also clarify this so that it's not misunderstood that it's just a whole set of government employees who ended up applying. Please remember that we've got people who are in the EPWP program, which pays people about 700 to 1,000 rands, number one. Number two, some of those EPWP people are registered to be under EPWP, and yet they fell out of the system of EPWP. They no longer have that job at all, and therefore they needed to apply. Yes, we want to say upfront, people who are applying who are not supposed to apply, we have found them and rooted them out ourselves because our system is catching them. And the unfortunate part of it is that as long as we are trying to do that, it then delays giving the people who actually genuinely deserve to get the money. So it's a difficult situation, but my view as a minister and my responsibility as a minister is to say to SASSA and the department, tighten your system, strengthen the system in such a way that any Tsotsi who wants to come in here is unable to do that because your system itself is not enabling.
But still, Minister, I mean, in that example, as you say, I think the initial estimate was around, close to 118,000 that were identified, and I think that number was refined then to just over, might have been around 3,750 or so legitimate people who were taking advantage of the system. What is happening with those people who ostensibly have been stealing from the poor?
Remember that in our announcement of having found those people, we needed to go through a process which does not belong to us because we can't go out and arrest those people and so forth. There is a due process that we need to make sure that we separate the ones that genuinely were found to have needed to apply because, as what I've explained before, and those that have not, that applied. We then went to the employer. In this sense, we went to the city of Johannesburg, we went to wherever we are and reported that to the employer that there's action that needs to be taken by the employer because it's the employer that needs to take responsibility and make sure that they assist us in recovering the money back.
Minister, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. That was Lindiwe Zulu, who is the Minister of Social Development.